What's good, y'all? Welcome back to Commissioner's Corner. Sorry I'm looking a little bit like a schmuck today. Just got back from the gym. I work in a couple hours. I just wanted to try to knock this out to give a little bit of an injury report based off of what happened on this first slate of games. So enough yapping. We're just going to get right into it. First player we're going to talk about is going to be Drake London. His injury was very minor. He suffered a shoulder injury at the end of the game against the Buccaneers, basically on the last target of the game. He's listed as day-to-day by Ian Rappaport. There's really no metrics for what it looked like without him on the field. But we did see was that with Darnell Mooney out, 95% of the snaps were played by Casey Washington, who was a second-year wide receiver. No idea who this is. He didn't really have that great of production, but it's just worth noting in case both of them end up missing next game. Ray McLeod played like 60% of the snaps because they passed a lot. The biggest thing to note is that if London misses time, this is a very heavy passing team. They passed on 62% of their offensive snaps, and Michael Penix threw for 42 passes for 301 yards. That is a lot of production from their passing game. Yes, if you end up missing those pieces, they will end up having to rush more, but this is still a dynamic rushing attack, and you want the number one when we're talking about week-to-week value. So, God forbid, London misses. I don't think he will. I think he's playing this week, but we should at least talk about it. Darnell Mooney is going to be the guy that I want to basically skyrocket up my rankings. Same thing with Kyle Pitts. Darnell Mooney almost played last week. He just barely missed. They ended up holding him out, but he almost came back. He had an injury all preseason. I think he's going to be slow to come back, but he has a lot of value if he's the only receiving option in this game. And then Kyle Pitts, of course, like he's still a free agent for a lot of leagues. He showed some promise last game. Penix said he wanted to target him. Well, he did. And if London misses time, I think you could see a Pitts game where he ends up with 9-10 targets and we're all trying to grab him off the waiver wire for the leagues that have him left. So I'm going to keep talking about wide receivers here that I'm not really too worried about. Jaylen Waddle had a shoulder injury as well. He could have probably played through it. He probably could come back. But why would he rush back when they're down 20? There's just no reason for it. That would be risking an injury for no reason. Like, there was no coming back. They looked terrible. Tua looked miserable out there. I would probably just say that the only thing to worry about his injury is not his injury, just worry about how bad this team looks. There is a chance that Hill ends up being traded, but this isn't a video for that. We're just talking about the injury, and he seems like he's fine. He's going to play. He should be still considered flex consideration, just the Dolphins suck. And next, we're going to be getting into Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers, it's scary because of how much capital people put into him, but I think they just held him out as a safety precaution. He said he was like fine afterwards. So he played 62% of the snaps in the first half when healthy, so he didn't even have a crazy snap share because they really looked like they wanted to use Michael Mayer and to some degree Ian Thomas in this one because Ian Thomas saw 6 snaps, Michael Mayer saw I think probably about 20% of the snaps. So like it was a split committee when we're talking about how much these tight ends played. Through the 32 snaps he played, he had 5 receptions for 103 yards. He had a 24% market share because he's a wide receiver playing tight end. I really am not worried about him. That being said, if he has some type of issues and he ends up having his injury linger more than we think it's going to, because he should just be back and fine, Jacoby Meyer's workload's going to be unlimited. He saw 30% of the market share through the entire game, and he would just get an even higher amount if we're talking about a game without Brock Bowers. Also, Michael Mayer would be a nice flyer if we're just looking for a 1-week start. But I think Brock Bowers can be back. I don't think there's any reason to necessarily worry about him. So now we're going to get into 2 players that I have a little more worry about, and we need to talk about what it's going to mean for fantasy value. So we're going to start with George Kittle. George Kittle went down to a hamstring issue. I saw a bunch of doctors on Twitter basically saying he'll be out a couple weeks. I wouldn't be shocked if he misses one coming back after that, but they're going to be cautious a little bit with him, especially because they have so many injuries on this team. But let's sort of talk what this means if he ends up missing time. So Ricky Pearsall had 108 yards on 4 receptions. He played 84% of the snaps. Of course, he looked great. Everyone was talking about him all preseason. It looks like the hype is really there. CMC was an animal. His utilization rate was insane, and I hope they lower it just for his injury's sake because of how bad his career has been with his utilization and injuries. Feels like every year teams want to just load him until he can't do anything more. So CMC had a monster game though. He had 22 rushes, 9 catches on 10 targets. If Kittle misses, I think those two are going to be the guys that I really want to target everywhere. They should be automatic starters. And if we're talking about 1 week best balls or, DraftKings, FanDuel, any of those, I would be targeting these guys for like very high like potential ceilings. Their backup Luke Farrell played 58% of the snaps in this one and saw 3 targets with 1 red zone target that resulted in a touchdown. He looked pretty good. He might be a decent flyer. I like other guys that are still available in free agencies over him, but if you were in a deep league and there's nothing available, it wouldn't hurt to grab this guy because clearly they do like to go their tight end. But I don't necessarily think he'll go over any of like the Stranges, Pitts, even Juwan Johnsons, like that we know we should be valuing when it comes to this first waiver period. But either way, there should be value in him, and there's a lot of value in Pearsall and CMC, which there was already value in both of them, but their target shares should increase. Maybe not for CMC because he saw so much game 1, but for at least Pearsall, the target share should increase, and we should see a lot of value for him if Kittle misses some time. It is worth noting as well, if Kittle ends up missing some time, I'm probably out on Purdy for a little while. There's just too many pieces that are hurt. They might lean on the run game. I just don't think Purdy would get it done without Kittle in this lineup. So just go with a different streaming option at quarterback for a week or two. Now on to the injury that matters probably most. It's going to be Xavier Worthy. He got absolutely blasted by Kelsey in that game, ended up missing everything after that first drive. We haven't seen the results of the MRI yet, but it looks like he may need surgery. At the very least, he's going to try to come back with a brace, which means he's going to be out for multiple weeks. I saw somewhere that they're predicting 3 or 4 weeks out, which means he would probably be coming back the same time as Rashee Rice, which feels about right. But let's just talk what that's going to mean for this offense. It means I'm probably just sort of out on Mahomes. Their offense didn't look great, and he just has less options to throw to. But their receivers, I am extremely excited about Hollywood Brown for about like 3-4 week stretch. The fact that he played 93% of the snaps and got 16 targets with 10 receptions is pretty nutty. That's clear alpha type numbers, and Hollywood's done that in the past. He basically had 42% target share, and no one else on the team saw above a 13% target share. Juju is their wide receiver too, playing 80% of the snaps, but Hollywood is by far my biggest priority if he's available in leagues. He really probably shouldn't be, but he's only been taken in about 30% of leagues when we talk about the draft. So number 1 priority would be Hollywood Brown. I think he's going to give you fantastic value for 3-4 weeks because honestly, Mahomes likes to funnel targets to the receivers he trusts. Hollywood is someone clearly he trusts. He doesn't really trust Juju. You didn't really see that many targets go his way. And their other receivers are Tyquan Thornton, Jalen Royals, and Nick something or another that I'm forgetting his last name. With this injury, if Worthy's out multiple weeks, try to grab Brown for your team just for that stretch. He's going to give you great value in the flex. But I think maybe outside of that, Kelsey might get a little bit more target love in the future. They probably need to target him a little bit more because 4 targets in this one with Xavier Worthy out is a little ridiculous. But who knows what you're really going to see from him. Hollywood Brown's really the one that I'm interested in. So that's going to wrap it up. That's basically just the reports that we got from these injuries so far. We don't know exactly what's going to happen to Worthy. We haven't gotten the exact news of what is going to happen. That's going to happen as we get through the week, as we start to see the MRI and see if these guys are actually playing in practice, because that's the next step. If they're cleared to play, if they're not in practice, we are probably still not going to see them this week. They might be held out a week just to be safe. So just keep that in mind when we're talking about these players. I think there's a lot of value when you're talking about these injuries, what their backups can do, because those snap shares were very telling in week 1. A lot of these guys getting 85+% snap share underneath these superstars, that means there's going to be value for them if those superstars miss. So with that, thank you for watching. If you liked, please give us a like, please subscribe. Send me a comment saying you actually enjoy this type of content. I am really enjoying doing this type of stuff. I know I'm only like a week and a half in. I plan on doing this all year, so appreciate anyone who made it to this point. But thank you. Hope to catch you next time. Peace.